Anyway,
Hello.
I'm Tappy Toe Claws, and I'm a loud dinosaur from the internet. And yeah,
Dinosaur screech.
I will. People will die. Children will be hurt. People will grow up like without parents. Yeah, so we won't do the dinosaur screech. Anyway, important facts. We have all these lovely cosplayers here, and we're here to tell you a little bit about what we do, and hopefully we'd like to answer your questions. So if you have any kind of questions or you want to know something more about like a point we're talking about, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. I'll make up a nickname for you at the spot because I don't know everybody's names. I'll probably be like, hey, you with the face. Please, we would love to get your questions. That like this panel is for you. So we would really like you to kind of direct it. I just find that that's a lot more valuable because we don't want to spend an hour talking about wigs if the only person who cares about wigs is me. That's not fun. We would much rather talk to you. If you want to talk about armor, let's talk about armor. If you want to talk about fabric, let's talk about fabric. If you do want to talk about how I turned my face into a weird man, we can talk about that too. Girlfriend hates it, but that's another problem entirely. So I'm not sleeping on the couch yet, so I'm doing okay. Anyway, so I'm Tappy Toe Claws, aforementioned loud dinosaur from the internet. On this panel, we have a ton of people who are far more qualified than I am, and we're going to let them all introduce themselves. So I have slides for everybody.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Ashlen. I don't know what else to say, but hi. Oh, do I talk more? Okay.
I mean, however much you want to go. It's you next.
Go for it.
It's you.
Oh, cool. Hi, I am Nadine from Switzerland. Flew in a long time.
Yay. She's gonna pick everyone, so it's gonna go down the line.
Hi, I'm Olivia Gobert-Hicks. Excited to be here. I'm Vanessa Martin.
Nessa, you're gonna have to pull that mic up.
I'm Kat, aka Tarmokat.
So we all cosplay. We've all been cosplaying for a while. I mean, you've probably been maybe doing it the longest.
Oh, 2010?
Yeah, when did everybody start?
I started in 2000.
You've started the latest. You've just gotten in on it, and you're just kind of lucked into it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I'm also the kind of person who gets up and talks in front of people a lot. So, like, if I'm rambling on, please just stop me. I mean, I'm gonna do it anyway, but anyway. So, what we'd really like to do is, if you guys have an idea for a costume, the idea is what we'd really like to do is we'd like to actually like walk through a costume process and how we would make a costume that none of us have made. So obviously we all make a lot of magic cosplays, but we also make a lot of not magic cosplays. So if you have questions, and also if you don't want to have your question like publicly aired to everyone, stick around because we'll be around. And if you want a one-on-one question, we can ask those too. So we did get one question from the internet. Somebody wanted us to look at Myojin of Knight's Reach from Kamigawa. So the way that we kind of start a cosplay project is honestly like you type the thing into Google and you look at as many pictures as you can. And the nice thing, but also sometimes the bad thing about magic is the art is this big. Especially for, what? It's on the, I mean, you can look at it there, but you can't. It's from Kamigawa. There you go. You're blind, but you can't see.
Here, I'll look
Pull it up on your phones.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was asking
You all have Google. So part of the problem with magic is that like sometimes the art, especially older art, so I'm glad somebody asked us for an older picture. As you guys, I think, is everything showing up properly? Can you guys see the Google page? Okay. So this is what I had. I literally just Googled this earlier. And this is what I have. This looks like the best art. So you click on it. And then you go to visit. And the art isn't any bigger.
Yeah.
You're just kind of stuck with this. And it's very complicated, definitely not human. But also you're like, I want to make that because I want to hang out with all my friends and be this spooky Japanese ghost. How do I do this? So one of the things that's wonderful about magic is we have so many artists, and most of the artists actually are very willing to give you the art or answer questions for you if they have the ability to. Obviously, some artists are under NDA and they cannot. But if they are, it's worth reaching out to them. Obviously, if they can't, you have to be polite and understand. But a lot of them are very willing to help you if you can. So when you look at something like this, you're like, how do I do this? So panel, our lovely panel of highly educated people who know what they're doing, what would your first impression of how do we start this? Other than Googling it. We already did that. We've done step one. Step one is Google.
Honestly, with art this old, because you usually only have like one picture and we don't have lovely full art like we now do, I would honestly look up the other Yojins, because I know it's like a set for all the colors, and see if there's any similarities to get an idea of like how this costume is made.
I think the first thing I would do looking at this is see what parts I can get away with cutting out that's not going to affect the overall presentation of it. And that will still let me convey what card I'm going for, what the art style is supposed to be, and at the same time cut back on the work that I'm supposed to be doing, so I can focus on what is there and how best to make it pop.
Yeah, that's good.
So Olivia actually does have it, zoomed in on her phone. So she actually has quite a closer picture than I'm able to get on Google. So you always want to check. It's probably going to get pixelated if you blow it up too much. Here, take this. I'll pull it up. I don't know if you want. I got it. I don't really know how to work computers, so Olivia's just going to make it go. So you're going to get it pixelated at some point, but Olivia blew it up, and you can basically see that there's definitely maybe several faces.
Yeah, I would probably try to fix where you want your head to be in first, so you can build around that. What I would probably do is just put your head where the white, like faceless version of the faceless head is, basically with the two rods on the sides of the head. Make that hide your actual head in there. And the second hat, you can basically make a mask out of and just pin it to the cloth that you would make it out of. And maybe take like 2 sticks, basically make hands on 2 sticks. So you can basically fold sticks with like claws and hands on them. So you can like fold them out to get longer arms, because the shoulders are going to be basically on the height of your elbow, because face that's going to be on your chest is going to be actual face of thing. So you would need to have shoulder about here. So I would probably just hold sticks in my hands.
Do you want to talk about how you made like the fake hands and stuff?
Oh, right. Okay, so for the Atraxa,
because obviously Atraxa has some extra limbs,
got some extra arms. I did it the quick way first, because I actually got a set of articulating arms for a mannequin. But this set was, I bought the like elbow length opera gloves, stuffed them with a little bit of armature wire and cotton, and then just put the foam bone structure over that, and then attached them in through the chest piece. So that way there were some arms that were dangly, obviously, but they had some structure, and obviously gave the impression of, hey, I have a second set of arms growing out of my torso that are at least, conveying that Atraxa forearm message.
So the other thing that's a little bit interesting about this one in particular is the front head looks as though, because there's this entire fall of hair, and that's actually hair. There's also some fabric in there. Mm-hmm. And you could probably approach it 2 ways. You could definitely obviously the robe part is going to be fabric, but the front part could be hair. You could just put a whole bunch of wig hair on the front of it.
Yeah, you can.
And this is kind of where we get into.
So that way it's not going to weigh down your head, and it's actually could be attached to the robe itself.
And so this is kind of where we get into the point of that comes in a lot of cosplay, is like, how accurate do you want it versus how wearable do you want it? Because if you put a bunch of hair on the front of that, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah,
It's going to tangle.
Wig hair tangles. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of places on the internet that sell tangle-proof wigs. That is in fact a lie. No wig is tangle-proof. Some are more tangle-proof than others, but every single wig will eventually tangle when it goes on your head. So if you're going to make that and actually put that hair in the front, it's going to be a mess. So I have a whole bunch of pictures here, actually, and I have something that's probably helpful.
I just have to say, I think it's really funny, because my first read on looking at this is like, well, I guess I have to build this giant structure to sit on my shoulders and have this top part. Just make your face that, and then move the face down onto your chest.
It's also a lot easier, because if you have
makes
a
way more
helmet on,
sense.
you don't need to deal with makeup and stuff, which is great. It saves a lot of time.
But also make sure you can see.
Oh yeah.
That's a
Or
big
that you have
thing.
friends that are going to walk you around.
Yeah,
Because I
or a
can't see in
handler.
Atraxa has been a long running joke. So I'll always have people that are dressed up as planeswalkers escorting me there because they're my super friends.
It looks a little bit like a fencing helmet, so we might
Yeah.
one could take that as an inspiration and build up that, or I don't know how expensive these things are. Maybe like build off it.
There's definitely more than one way to take this one.
Yeah, I think my second step would definitely be looking at what I can buy online to alter for this. Would be probably the second step. Like, what does this most look like that I can just buy to save time?
I think the idea Olivia mentioned, stuffing gloves and using those as hands, is a great idea. And then a lot of us actually have made. I can't talk and think at the same time. A lot of us have actually made arm nylons. Basically, like you could get some white nylons for your arms and then glue fake nails onto them. And you could do the same thing for the gloves as well. So that way, when you're going to an event, you can just basically slip them on. You don't have to paint your hands, put on nails, and then try to go to the bathroom with all of that going on.
Ashlen's got them on right now,
Yeah.
and so do I. Because, like, you know what I don't want to do? Paint this tattoo every single time I put on Ralph.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather this is just nylon. It's like
Slip 'em
basically like
on.
a stocking.
And like for Vraska, tomorrow I'll have some nylon so I don't have to paint my arms gray. That's a huge thing for cosplay. It's helpful.
Yeah, because the hand and arm structure looks so much different from human arm structure. One could also just make arms and like hands and claws out of like basically mold it around a stick and just hold it in your actual hand and hide your hand in underneath your cloth. So like, that's also a lot easier. It's probably not going to be like articulated that way, but like the hands and claws look very thin and like sickly basically, and it's a lot different from human hands basically.
So let's talk about this big central headpiece. So that has to, if we're kind of going with the idea, my friend's idea, if we're talking about Nissa Cosplay's idea of that's probably where your head is. Your head is probably in that center tall part. You're probably making the other face on your chest. How are we making this big headpiece? Because obviously it's going to be on your head. It's going to be heavy. We don't want it to be heavy. Because if you don't think that something on your head is going to be very heavy and exhaust you, I have some news for you.
LOL.
It's going to be very heavy and exhaust you. Anytime you put something on your head, it's going to feel like your whole body is supporting it. And it's because your whole body is supporting it, and you'll be very exhausted very quickly. Even just horns, like anything that you put on your head is going to be heavy. You're going to get tired.
That's
And-
exactly why I made Vraska snakes out of foam.
Yeah.
And even you'd think with foam it doesn't weigh anything, but that thing still like weighs on my head.
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
might think you're fine for like an hour or so, or if you try it on, you're fine for like the 10 minutes you're wearing it, but just think about wearing it for some hours.
The tiara I have for Lily is made out of 20 gauge brass, which is actually rather substantial. It's mounted on a headband. And the first hour or so, it's not too terrible. And then all of a sudden, I'll take it off and I'll feel my back straighten out like
Yeah.
this. It's like, oh, right,
Train
this
those neck
is
muscles.
exhausting. Yeah, so be aware of that.
So for this, I would probably do the same thing and make it out of foam.
Yeah.
They even sell styrofoam heads that you can put wigs on. So it's already a head shape, and you could just cover it with fabric. Super easy.
To do that, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like either a fencing mask or like just that heavy duty plastic mesh would be good for the
Yeah.
face
I like
cage,
the
and then
fencing
just
mask.
do like white foam around that, and it's gonna you can have it rest on your shoulders, but it's foam. It'll be super light, and it's still gonna give the exact like right look for that without weighing you down. Just cut air holes on the top because you'll die of baking to death otherwise. I would think.
It also looks like it has a fabric sleeve on top of it. Like the front part is like white fabric and the back is black, which is actually great because you can mold the head basically to the rest of the body, like create that like transition from head to torso. If you just take fabric, you can just like stuff the fabric underneath like whatever else is there, especially in front and in the back. You can just leave it flapping there, which will create nice and dramatic look if there's wind.
Yeah.
So I think we have an idea. So we kind of know how we're doing the headpiece. We kind of have an idea of how we're doing the front piece. We know how we're doing the hands. So how about all these like little like curly cues and little like tiny bits of like shredded fabric? So obviously we have to probably make a robe and then somehow distress the edges of the fabric.
Yeah.
How do we want to do that, folks?
There's you can test out with fabric. Some of it is really easy where you can kind of start a little tear and then rip it yourself. I would do that instead of using scissors because it's going to make it look more naturally tattered. That's kind of how I did Jace's tattered cape. And then I actually used take safety precautions, but I actually used fire. Like I burned the ends of Jace's cape to make it look really tattered. You can even like run stuff over with a car and do all kinds of stuff to distress it. It worked. I mean,
Scratch it with
if you
actual metal nails and stuff. And,
Or if you have to use scissors, bunch up your fabric so it's like a random shape, and then cut lines so it's not just like a straight line.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's not a straight line. Sorry.
Coffee and tea distress fabric very well also, as far as if you're looking for like a color change. Because it turns out that coffee stains are sometimes very useful when you do them on purpose. Sometimes you just spill coffee on your cosplay and then you're like, oops, well,
Guilty.
that's just there for you know? I'm looking at that one.
I think also for this one, since there's so many like little like individual strands, you could also like start the cut with scissors and then like Kat said, rip it the rest of the way up to get that really distressed look, but still have the individual tiny flaps of distress.
yeah, we'll probably also try to take really rough sanding paper and put the fabric onto a surface and like drag the sanding paper aggressively over the edges of your fabric to get that nice and tattered look.
So the other thing about this one that I think is kind of a good way to round it out is because there's not really like a human body shape on this costume per se. So the nice thing is on that point, you can kind of consider the most comfortable thing to wear underneath something, which is really nice. And I know that's several of us kind of have that going on. Whereas like, it's not really clear what Ral is wearing underneath all his stuff. So I just have like an Under Armour, like comfy shirt on that's going to keep me cool, and everything else just kind of is like very comfortable base around that. And that's probably what I would wear underneath this. Honestly, I'd probably be wearing like a long sleeve back shirt and some yoga pants.
Yeah,
and
I would
very
probably wear like a really
shoes.
comfortable black outfit so that your body's kind of hiding underneath there.
Yeah. So I think we've kind of walked our way through this one. So again, as I said, like you guys can have whatever questions you want. We do have a few questions from the internet that we'll go through as well. But if you guys have any other costumes that you kind of want us to pick apart in the way that we just did for Myojin, we can definitely do that. Please let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to start at the top and we're kind of going to go through here for this. So obviously you guys are welcome to expand upon whatever.
I have a question. How would you solve the feet problem?
Oh, sure. Yeah, right. We don't have feet in this costume.
If I were,
Would you care?
I wouldn't, but the thing I probably would do is cut the robe, like the general shape, more of a V, so that it's giving the illusion of tiny point that's floating where your feet would be. So just keep that in black, maybe make it a little extra long and tatter that at the bottom. Yeah. But if it's in that V shape, I think would, especially if you like are to raise your arms out for pictures or anything, it's gonna give the illusion of the floating.
And wear like some really
mass
low
standing there.
Wear like some really low profile shoes, like black shoes or something that'll hide. So.
I think maybe put hands on your feet.
Excellent. That's actually really, that's pretty clever.
Obviously, you should just learn how to float.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
It's not real unless you actually can fly. But that's the other kind of point of cosplay is what you're going for is you're going for the finalized effect, not necessarily a realistic interpretation of a two-dimensional drawing. Because that's something you also have to consider is most, especially in Magic, is what we're working off of is a small point of two-dimensional art. And often it is one single picture. Sometimes when you do a Planeswalker, you have multiple interpretations that you kind of look at. You can be like, oh, well, what does Ral have on in this one? Or like, how many different pictures in Bahiri are there? There's several. It's obviously she's Stoneforge Mystic. And you also have a few different like Planeswalker versions, and they're all kind of different. Oh, sorry. Yeah, not close enough. Don't worry about it. But so you have a lot more options when you look at a character who's drawn many times. I could just pick this up again, but otherwise I can also just kill my back, and that's what we're doing. So when you look at a character like this, like Myojin, or like obviously like Vanessa has made like you've made that like beautiful Merfolk costume. There's literally like that's one art that you made that off of. So right here, like you made that off of. I have your Jupiter Waters. Oh, yeah. So you made that off of like one picture, basically. Yeah. So she probably looked at a few other Ixalan merfolk to make sure that everything was kind of consistent, but you're looking off of fundamentally like one picture of art. Whereas when you're working on Liliana, there's a billion. Like pick one and kind of stick to it because you've got so many.
Honestly, you can mix them together too. I mean, that's the one nice thing is that if there are distinctive spots on pieces of art that you like and that you're comfortable making, or they will make something come together for you, you can mix and match. I think a lot of things. Like I always wear the leg armor that I made from Rise of the Dark Realms with stuff from a different card, but at no point in time has anyone ever been like, well, the art was different. Like it's clearly, like, oh, you're Liliana. It's like, which version? A bunch. Whichever I want.
Yeah,
I'm B version.
I think most of the Liliana cosplayers kind of have like a hodgepodge. Like I started with Last Hope and I really aimed for that exact art. And then as more Lilianas came out, I kind of evolved my costume. And I have like the combat boots on today for Dread Horde General. So, yeah.
We good on this point? Because I think we'll probably take some of these questions then. We've got some really good ones. So thank you, Internet. I hope you guys are watching this later. I think this is going to be aired, right? We're recording this, so we'll have it later. Mm-hmm. So this is a great question. So what's the thing about cosplaying that most people don't know? Which I feel like there's not one thing. There's many things.
Y'all, this is so much harder than it looks, I swear to God.
If you only knew.
When we, and I, feel fairly confident speaking for all of us. When we show up, we're usually pretty much put together, but you'll notice that we don't get here until around anywhere between 10 and noon, and the doors open way before that, and we wake up way before that. A lot of these pieces to come together have to be put on in a very specific order. Like we have to get our makeup done, but we have to make sure that it's not too far ahead of the event so we don't like wipe our entire faces off. And then there is an order of operations with how these things have to be put on. So everything fits. You try your best to make something that's going to be, something you can put on by yourself with no assistance. That almost never works. Someone needs to like, hey, can you just finish getting this zipper up? I can't reach it with my shoulder armor's on. And then there's this. So, there's the work in making the costume, but there's actually the production of putting it on and coming here. Because then you have to consider, okay, great, I still have to make it to the con from wherever I'm getting dressed. And I can't wear a full set of wings when I get on the way. So what can I wear on the way there that I can then put this on and then have somebody else help me finish it? So I think that people, if it's not like an all fabric wearable cosplay, take into account the fact and be aware of there's a lot more that comes with it than just building something that looks great. You have to make it something you can function in for probably more than 45 minutes, because otherwise we'll be like, why did I even bother? I just think that a lot of people don't realize, and I'll say this mainly because I had no idea when I was getting started. I built this, giant Warbler Liliana, and it was 20 pounds. I'm walking around like, this is not fun, actually, at all. This is completely uncomfortable. It's fine for the 30 seconds that I'm trying it on and making sure everything looks great, and then wearing it's a different story altogether. So I think if you ever want to make something, really take into consideration that you are going to be in it for an extended period of time, and work almost with that knowledge at the forefront of your head all the time, that there's way more to it than just making it look cool. You have to be able to be present in it, because otherwise, what was the point? You wore it to check out your skills, which is fine, and take some cool pictures with it. But if you want to attend an event, really be mindful that you have to wear it, and it is still something that you need to function in.
Yeah. Put it on at home and walk around in it. Put it on multiple times.
Yes.
Because even just, like you said, putting it on is an ordeal too. Yeah.
I think one of the things as well, like going off of that I learned early on and I didn't expect, was that you can build these really cool things, but they have to go on you, and you have to figure out how they go on you. So fixing is a lot more important than I realized starting out. It's like, oh, I have this cool shoulder piece, but how does it stay on my shoulder? And I still, to this day, struggle with fixing.
The other thing, too, is I think everyone other than Vanessa flew here. Yeah. So Somehow you have to figure out how to get this in your suitcase. And then you also have to have a really awkward conversation with the TSA agent who's asking you why you have a Doctor Strange wig in your carry-on. And sometimes the TSA also just takes pieces out of your cosplay, because I had batteries and a lovely white piece for this. I don't know where they are. Probably in Atlanta.
I mean, I think one of the things actually, when I was making Atraxa, part of my goal was, can I get the entire thing in one suitcase?
Yep.
And it is the only thing that fits in that suitcase, and it is the largest suitcase I have. But I actually had to go into it like, I want to make these amazing wings. How do I say? And I want to wear them outside of my house. So it turned into, how can I break this down into pieces that's still something I can wear, something I can put together, and isn't going to max out my 50-pound luggage restriction.
And you still need to be able to carry all of your luggage to the airport, from the airport to your hotel.
Through the airport.
Which is also a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, I think all of our staffs basically break down into like 2 or 3 parts.
Yes. Yep.
So every time you see us carrying a staff, I mean, they usually break into 2 or 3.
The staff just measure your suitcase and then measure how like large your prop's going to be, and then just break it down into as many pieces as you need to. This thing comes apart into 3 pieces.
Well, the other thing too is, so magic events are generally pretty open to cosplay, but when you go to a more structured like convention, whether it's like a C2E2 or a Comic-Con or a giant anime convention, you should always check what props and what materials are allowed. Because like Nadine's staff, they would probably, at the very least, they would want to check it themselves. So you'll actually have to hand it over at a certain large scale events, and you'll have to hand it over. They're going to look at it. They're going to want to touch it and stuff. So you have to kind of sometimes help it out. It's almost like the TSA all over again. They're probably going to put like a zip tie on it to make sure that like you got it checked. They're going to ask like, hey, if it's way taller than you, does it come apart? Because like certain props, like there's certain height requirements. Obviously certain events don't allow things like if you have a gun,
like
does it have an orange tip?
fake gun. Yeah.
Do you have live steel? Not okay. Can it be sheathed? And honestly, if you have a live steel sword, they're probably going to zip tie it into the sheath. You can't have it out. You can have it for pictures. Please exit the event. Go take your pictures there. When you're coming back in, it's going to get zip tied. Your next round periods are posted. And that's the 11:30 standard challenge and the 2:30 two-head giant.
Yeah.
Next round periods are posted.
What you should also take into account is
it's like airplane. Please park in the red zone. There is no loading in the
What you should also take into account is the temperature both outside where you're going to be and inside the venue itself. Because some costumes, I myself have had costumes that were extremely hot to wear, and you should try not to like overdo, and you should try to either like A, stay hydrated, and B, if the costume is going to be very, very hot, try to cool yourself down. What I've managed before is I've worn a cooling vest before that with like cooling elements that I was able to like exchange and put into the freezer just to cool my body temperature down, because it can get like extremely hot in certain costumes, and that can be very dangerous.
What I was going to say real quick was, if there's a specific event you want to build your costume for, check the rules. They are locking down on it more now than before, but they do have different rules for each con. Like stilts aren't allowed at most cons. Like if you want to do like a League of Legends cosplay and you want to do fiddlesticks, you should probably check before you throw on the stilts.
Anything else you want to add, or do we want to move on to the second? Another question? All right. Again, if you folks have any questions, want us to expand on anything we're talking about, please just throw up a hand. I can't promise I'll always look, but eventually I'll get to you. So the next question is, what's the most challenging aspect of cosplay to you, and how have you overcome that, or how do you try to overcome it?
Travel.
What?
Travel.
Travel?
Yeah, travel just complicates a lot of things in my opinion, because usually I look at a character and go like, I could build this easily, but then comes a challenge of I need to put this into a suitcase. So when I was building my wings, because I wanted like large wings, because angels need to have this like overbearing presence of glory and splendor. So I wanted large wings. And so I needed to find out how I could possibly transport large wings like the ones I plan to make in an airplane. And for that, I was able to break it apart, but I still had to have like an extra box and break it apart into little pieces. I needed to take a battery off the whole package because I cannot put batteries into my check package, obviously. And then apart from that, I had large suitcase, small suitcase, handbag, and a huge surfboard bag full of wings. So you also need, as I said before, you need to take into consideration, you need to be able to carry this all by yourself, which, yeah, travel's hard.
So we're talking a lot about the logistics side of cosplay, but to kind of touch on the other side of it, the hardest thing for me has been, we just talked about this last night, none of us actually like our work. Like we all hate all of our work. Like it's like every single cosplayer hates what they make. And I'm I'm a perfectionist and I'm very self-critical. And so for me, like the first few times I ever put on a cosplay and went out somewhere, I felt like so exposed because I know like every single flaw on my costume. And I feel like everybody's looking at all the flaws. But
ask me about my Jace Unraveler of Secrets cosplay that is now in the garbage. Yeah. I also had several breakdowns while making it and before I put it on.
Yeah, like there's this whole emotional side of it too. And just like getting the confidence to go out there and show the world what you made and not feel like everybody's picking it apart. So I think for me, that's the hardest non-logistical thing.
I promise everyone else thinks you look amazing.
Yeah.
You stared at this thing.
Yeah. I mean, like yesterday, I picked up Nadine's staff. Oh, wait a second.
Please find your seats.
I picked up Nadine.
No. I'm so glad this is being recorded for posterity.
I'm gonna turn that guy into a zombie.
That was comedy. That was like sitcom levels of like timing right there. Yeah, that was
I think
fantastic.
that guy needs to be a zombie.
The announcement says no.
How you guys doing? You guys planning any events? Things going?
We will be starting the Water Horizon Spring Play scheduled for 3:30 at 3:45.
Okay. Yesterday I picked up Nadine's staff, the one she has right there, and I was just like looking at it like it was a work of art and admiring it. She walks up behind me and she's like, "Oh yeah, here's this part's coming apart, and here you can see the magnets here." And she's telling me every flaw. Dude, I seriously would have never noticed any of them if she hadn't pointed them out. But that's like how. So if you try to go cosplay and you feel very like vulnerable and self-conscious, just know that is absolutely normal. All of us feel that way. Every single cosplayer I know hates their own work. So.
I think for me, the one thing that was really difficult was expecting that I had to be good at every aspect of it. Like, I need to know how to do foam and warble and sewing. By the way, I cannot sew. And I have a sewing machine. And I think I've put 2 seams together because I'm just intimidated by it. I think the thing that you need to consider is that you're not going to be good at everything, and that's okay, because there are other people that are good at it that may not be good at something you can do. And that's where it's nice being able to interact with each other. It's like Kat is always telling me, I'm so terrified of working with foam. It's like,
oh God, I'm horrible at it.
The easiest thing in the world is like you just glue stuff together and it's done.
If I can figure out a way to make something with a sewing machine, I'll do it, and I will avoid working with foam at all costs.
And I actively came after Kat. I was like, I don't know how to stitch. Can you make these sleeves for me?
And I'll just do everyone's wigs forever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only thing I want to do.
So we all have stuff, and I know I've done metal work for people. I know I made a tiara for someone, and that's easy for me, and it comes naturally.
She's the metal card lady.
Yeah, and it's a non-issue. It's just
I think the important part here is that we can all learn from each other, and then that it's also important that we exchange knowledge, we help each other. Which I actually think is the best part about cosplay, the information exchange, always learning new things. Because as Olivia said, you can't just be good at everything, but everyone's good at something. And if we exchange everything and like teach each other what we are good at, we can all grow and we can all get better. And I think that's very beautiful in cosplay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, this is a really nice segue. Can we talk about some tutorials and some ways that we like to go about kind of like learning things and like some really good references for that? Because I feel like people probably want to know.
Yeah.
tutorials and everything. I think nowadays, especially, there's tons of cosplayers out there who willingly like build these tutorial books. Like you can get Kamui Cosplay is the one I started with because she was like the Warbler Queen. And now it's also how do you say her name? It starts with a K.
The Kinpatsu?
Yeah, she's amazing. She's does
got
little
great
books
stuff.
for stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, Lightning Cosplay from Germany.
Yes.
She's also great.
Yeah.
This is one of her patterns on there. So.
Especially if you want to get into foam war, because I started off on Warbler with no idea what I was doing. If you want to try like your hand at building armor, I think a giant like 60-inch by 24-inch foam sheet is maybe $12. You just bite the bullet and see how many mistakes you can make on that foam sheet and where
Practice
it takes
makes
you.
everything.
You will learn so stinking much, and you can do that without having a huge time or financial investment, and that will really up your skill level and just kind of let you know what it is you need to work on and how best you can go from there, and then have a baseline.
What we're talking about when we say foam is what we're talking about is it's ethylene vinyl acetate. It's a high density like craft foam. So you can get it at Michael's. It's what Navy made this out of. It's what this is. So it does wrinkle. Like obviously Rel took some damage from the wonderful TSA. However, you can also just hit this with a hairdryer and it will mostly get it fixed. Also, it's super light. Speaking of all the things we were talking about where like things are get heavy, it's really bad to wear. So this is light as hell. Like it's really easy to wear. Obviously that big tube is also foam. It's all the same stuff. And to Olivia's point, it's real cheap. Yeah. So you can get a big sheet. You can make a lot of mistakes. It paints really easily. There's a whole lot of good things about it.
I think something that we haven't talked about yet as well for costumes is the makeup side. Some people forget that makeup can really change your look a lot. Not even like Nahiri obviously is white. So like there's body paint involved, but even a little bit of eyeliner or mascara can completely change your costume once you put it on and just make you the character. And there's like YouTube, just pull up a makeup tutorial on YouTube and you'll learn so much. So like that's a whole nother side of cosplay is makeup, body paint. But that's super helpful. If you see a picture of yourself in a costume and you're like, something looks off, it's probably because you're not wearing any makeup or you're just missing something small like a little bit of eyeliner to accentuate your eyes.
Yeah,
And again,
the first time I ever went out in a cosplay, I wore Phoenix, like a bodysuit from X-Men. And I was like, oh, I don't need a wig. And I thought I had so much makeup on. And then I saw pictures of myself and
You can
look like
barely
any
see your
makeup
features.
on.
Yeah.
And
Makeup
I
disappears in
totally should have worn a
pictures.
wig.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you think you're overdoing it, the chances are you're not.
Just take a picture of yourself and see if you can still like see your makeup. If you don't, you can just have more.
Yeah, it's funny like seeing when you're looking at yourself and you're like, okay, well I normally look like this, and you walk out of the house and then you go outside in the sun and you take a picture and you're like, I can't see my eyebrows. Like what happened here? When you're in this kind of thing, you have this piece that's greatly exaggerated and is drawing a lot of attention. Even if you're not normally a makeup wearer or your character doesn't have that much, your features are going to wash out and you need to accentuate them so you actually match everything that you're wearing and you as a person can stand out the same way. So I actually had Nissa Cosplay do my makeup this morning because every time I do it, I put on a ton and I'm like, I'm wearing way too much. This is gonna look terrible. And I'm like,
And then you see yourself and you're like,
oh, picture? Like, what's going on? So I had her just do it like she normally would. And I, of course, look at it. I'm like, this is so much. I'm going to look so terrible. And when I get outside and see a picture, it's like, oh, that's what it looks like. All right, great. So
yeah, and YouTube is amazing. I would say makeup is not one of my strengths. Some of you guys are amazing. It's not my strength at all, but YouTube is amazing for tutorials. I mean, regular makeup or cosplay makeup. Yeah. It's just amazing.
What I also think adds a ton is contact lenses. Usually, I think I wear contact lenses, colored contact lenses for almost every cosplay. Because even if the character has almost the same eye color than I have, if I get contact lenses that are just like a little bit larger diameter, it just
a line around them like a circle.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's non-sclera and non-mini sclera that still have like a tiny bit larger diameter that will make your eyes seem a little bit larger, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more intense. Because a lot of these characters have like this intensity and importance to themselves that I don't think I can like achieve by myself. So I try to like upgrade where I can, and I think the eyes are great.
Exaggerate.
Contact lenses are great.
Yeah.
And if you're going to go to the contacts route, they are really cool. Just make sure you're getting them from a reputable site because you don't want to mess up your eyes. Make sure you do your research. They do have different sizes for the diameter and like curvature of your eye. So it never hurts if you are able to go to an optometrist and at least figure out the sizing for your
Nurse
eye.
here, I'm going to tell you, you need to go get your eyes checked before you get
Thank you. She's a nurse.
Don't put them in without getting your eye exam first, because you can actually damage your cornea. So.
And it's quite easy. It's fast. It's pretty cheap, even if you don't have insurance. You can go to like a Target or a Walmart. They'll generally have like a vision place. Any place that has like, the whole rack of like different glasses and lenses and stuff. You can go in and be like, hey, I want to get cosmetic lenses. I just need you to make sure that I don't have an astigmatism or that like my cornea isn't shaped weird. Because I have planos, obviously. Like I don't wear glasses normally, but I have contacts in right now. And I still got my eyes checked. You still do it. I'm a 0.0, but it's good to know that because there are plenty of things that can go wrong with your eyes and you really need them. Yeah. Don't want to mess those up. They're very important.
Also, if you plan to wear like crazy contact lenses, like UV contact lenses, I'm actually wearing UV contact lenses right now. Be aware that like pointing UV light at your eyes is not healthy at all for your eyes. So if you do it, don't do it 24/7, obviously. I just point the UV LEDs at my eyes when I take pictures or I just want to show people. I can show it you. These are not super extreme, but like, it's not healthy. So don't do it for long stretches of time. Don't do it often. And make sure to have eye drops at the ready to take care of your eyes.
Yeah, especially if you're going somewhere very dry. Like a lot of us are going to be going to Vegas, and like right now, all of our contacts feel fine. When we're in Vegas, we're going to need those eye drops like every 2 hours. Yeah. And I'm usually the stupid human who forgets. And I'm like, some really eye drops. I'm dying.
There's some really good like mineral oil drops that I use that are just like really rich and nice for your eyes.
So I think we're probably pretty good on that. We covered a lot of stuff there. So again, I'm glad that we're just kind of having a conversation about all this stuff, and that's pretty cool. So we do have another good question. Again, Tyler Owens, on point. A lot of good questions. If you could give one piece of advice to your past self when you're first starting cosplay, what would it be? Do we want to just start with Ashlen and go down the line so everybody gets,
Yeah.
Start off with foam and not with thermoplastics. It's a lot more comfortable, it's a lot less expensive, and it's a lot lighter.
Foam is
She took the words right out of my mouth. That was exactly what I was going to say. It was like my first one was Warbler, and that was a mistake.
I think for myself, it was definitely fail faster because, like Kat, I am a perfectionist and very detail oriented. And there are costumes that have never seen the light of day because I'm like, it doesn't have this one stripe on the left, and I know it's not there.
Again, talk to me about my Jason Unraveler of Secrets cosplay. It's
Like-
in the garbage.
Or like it's a new material and I'm scared to use it and mess it up because it's really expensive. And if I just would have gotten over it and messed up already, I would have gotten it out of the way and knew how to use it. And I would have been finished with my cosplay maybe 2 months earlier.
Yeah, I think what's the saying? The enemy of good is perfect, right?
Yeah.
Just like all of us pick them apart so badly when we're making our costumes. Just put it on and just like own it.
You can always save some major paint things. You can always add stuff later. Like when I first finished this taste, I didn't have this, and I was all up in my head about it. Nobody noticed but me.
Nobody noticed.
And then I just glued it on later. Everything's fine. Like if you get even 85% of the way there, 75 even for some cosplays, you're gonna be fine. And just add the details later. Like do not do the wheels of death panic mode in your head.
Also, if you do realize that you messed up or that you made a mistake on a piece, I see a lot of people when they make mistakes just throw a piece away and start like at zero again. I think more people should try to, when they make mistakes, instead of just throwing the piece away and starting new, just go from there. Think, how can I change this? How can I make this mistake work? How can I build from where I went wrong and adapt and just kind of turn it into something that can work, because I think that's a spot where we can learn a lot, and it also can save a lot of time if you just don't start anew instead of just try to go from there and try to make it work, basically.
The other thing that I think is really valuable is that you really have to separate whether you're going to compete in this costume or not. Because a costume that you're going to compete in, you do want to make that good. You want to make sure all your edges are crisp. You want to make sure all your hems are done. All your wig is perfect. All of those things.
The colors.
And that's wonderful if you want to compete. However, it's just as valid for you to say, I really like this character. I don't necessarily have the skills or the money or the funds or the time to do it, but I want to be, I'm trying to think of an example, like, because I've pushed several. I made Nettle Sentinel in like a week.
Yeah.
We wanted to be elves. We wanted to be elves for our friend Kendra. I bought most of it on eBay and made some armor in a week. And that's equally as valid to do that costume and approach it that way as it is to do it any other way. If you want to be Jace and you have a hoodie that's blue and you want to put some like white designs on it, that's equally as fine. Obviously, you do have to realize that like you're never going to win a competition in that costume. But these are fundamentally different aspects. Making a costume for a competition is 1,000% different than anything else. And again, we're going to have a competition later, so I feel like I wanted to make sure that there's going to be there, because there is a certain amount of judgment, and our judges, and we pick judges our city pick judges who, they're people who are qualified to judge you. They are going to nitpick. They're going to make these choices. It doesn't make your costume any less valid. It just means you're not going to win a craftsmanship award. Like, there's a very huge difference between like wanting to be a character and wanting to go out and dress up like an idiot and be a dork and make some friends, which is wonderful, and everyone should be able to do that. So whether you want to buy a costume, if you want to buy the whole costume, great. If you want to buy parts of a costume and then make some armor and put it on, also great. If you want to make the whole thing from scratch, if you want to hand dye fabric to make sure that it has exactly the pattern on it, and you want to LED everything, and you want to show up Nadine, welcome to it. Bring it on. We'd love to see it. But all of those things that I just described are equally valid. So we just want to make sure that everyone out here we're all nerds in costumes. We're basically just all 12-year-olds who want to have a great time on Halloween.
We're just
that's
playing
functionally
dress up.
what we're doing.
We
right
just
now.
have way more money and time than 12-year-olds.
You can speak for yourself.
This is true.
Sorry, that was kind of my soapbox, but
Also, I think the question was, I forget the question.
Was
You can tell yourself.
what advice
the original
would you give
question was,
yourself?
what piece of advice would you give your past self?
So mine was ask other people questions or for help before you get frustrated, because there have been so many projects where I spend days and weeks trying to figure one thing out, and then I ask someone and they're like, oh, just do it that way. And I'm like, oh, mind blown.
Or
Talking to other
even if
cosplayers.
you already have a way of making something in mind, if you have a friend that also cosplays, just ask them, like, how would you do it? And then, like, either try to, like, have different, like, points of view in your mind, combine the things, because even if you have a solution in your head, it's probably never going to be the perfect one. And the thing you end up doing is probably also never going to be the perfect way of doing it. But if you can, like, get different points of view and try to combine them, or just adapt, it can, like, add a lot.
Virtually anything you're going to do, someone's probably done it before.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is Google and see if somebody has cosplayed that character before. Obviously, there's like tons of like Liliana cosplayers out there, and I love seeing all of them because I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought to make like her gorgeous that way. Or some of the characters we cosplay are really obscure, but you can also look up maybe another character from something else that's similar. Like nobody in the world has cosplayed Basilica Belhaunt before yesterday, but I looked up like other spooky ghost cosplays, and that was helpful.
So we've got about, looks like it's 1:53, and I think we're done at 2. So I do want to make sure that if you have any questions. What? Oh, it's almost 3. Oh, sorry. Yep. I'm from the Midwest. My computer thinks it's 1 o'clock. Yeah. Who put me in charge?
We're not sure, honestly.
So many regrets. But I do want to make sure that if anybody has any questions, either way, my point was we're almost done. I want to make sure that if any of you have any questions, that they are answered. Otherwise, we're going to be milling around too. So like, feel free to come up to us in person if you'd rather ask rather than, on a stage.
And if you think of questions later, don't hesitate to just shoot us a message on social media. We're always happy to help and answer your questions.
Yeah, Twitter's great. I mean, I think we all have horrible connections here. It's something about convention center, like Wi-Fi and general signal just never exists. But when we get back, we'll generally check. So let's have one more question. I think we've got time for one more thing.
To the internet.
I feel like that last one was really good. I probably should have ended on that one. Again, who put me in charge?
Oh, we got a question.
We have a question. For anyone that couldn't hear it, the question is what keeps you motivated? What keeps you coming back to making these cosplays and continuing this process?
It's basically people like you sitting here being excited about what we do, telling us that you are, and basically making our work mean something. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it is really just the community that, like, it's not like I need validation, but it's really validating when someone comes up and notices this really obscure character that I love, and they're like, yes, I love that character too. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
When I cosplayers.
I'm sorry. When I was Nettle Sentinel in LA, there was a girl who like made a raptor screech, which again, preach.
Branding.
But like she made a raptor screech and ran at me, and she's like, she has hooves, she has hooves, she has hooves and horns. Lord, when elves are the best elves. And I was like, they 1000% are. Yeah. And we were like incredibly excited, and she made my whole weekend. And then Dana Fisher almost killed me. When you have an 8-year-old sprinting at you and you're in 17-inch 1,000 heels and you barely balanced, and luckily Olivia saves her life because she intercepts her. But
I think for me, in agreement with the community aspect of it, I think it's nice kind of having something that is an additional challenge and something I already love. Like, obviously the game is plenty challenging as it is, but to feel myself pretty much like a creative making, like I enjoy creating stuff, like physical things. Having something that ties back to something else that I'm so invested in and get to stretch, like flex those muscles as well is really motivating. It makes me want to keep coming to events, and then I get to play more of the game, and then I just keep getting further and further into it. But having an additional challenge in something that I already know I love and am invested in definitely keeps me interested in wanting to do it more.
I agree with both of those, the community and, the fans validation and the challenge. And then the other thing is what keeps me doing this is like every time I say, okay, I'm going to take a break from making new cosplays, then new art comes out and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to make that. It's so like the art and the story and the characters in this game are just amazing and like a never-ending source of inspiration. And for me, like, it's not just that I like making costumes. Like, I am not a very self-centered person. And so when I put on Liliana, I like channel her and I just get a swagger. And it's just, like, it's so much fun to experience the characters. And yeah.
it's fun to put on another face and just become another human being. Because obviously I'm not insufferable at all, and I'm incredibly mild-mannered when I'm Sydney normally, but then I put on Ral and I'm horrible. Definitely an act.
Really?
1,000% an act. What's your intern doing later? It's things like that. You get to have like kind of magic is wonderful in that like there is kind of something for everybody. Like there definitely is like, I mean, it's the best game ever. It's incredibly complex, and you can kind of take this incredibly spiky approach to it. And then there's the rest of us who kind of also have like the art is gorgeous. We also have a story, and we have all these characters, and everyone can kind of take away something different from this incredibly varied community that we have. And that's great, because I think Magic is unique in the way that we really do have a space for everyone, and we have something that you can dig into and you can make your part of the community however you want to. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. And that's my second soapbox of this panel.
There you go.
But I'm just happy that we're here. So.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good soapbox to yeet.
See, 1 p.m. They're screwing me up. No idea. I still don't know what time it is. What year is it? Is Reagan still president? I don't know. Do we have any more questions? Otherwise, if anybody wants a closer look at anything that we're wearing now, feel free. Kat actually has like a bag of like supplies and things. If you want to ask us anything specific, we've got some goodies. Otherwise, we can definitely give you any references, anything like that. Once again, since we're basically done, let me just pop this up. So if on the off chance that you guys don't already know who we are, everyone knows who this person person is, because she's outdoing all of us almost
Amazing.
constantly until Kat outdoes the rest of us.
you.
So obviously, thanks to Star City for bringing us all out. This is the wonderful Nissa Cosplay. She's wonderful, terribly talented, making the rest of us look horrible all the time.
And I believe she won the first contest.
She did. She
for
won last year.
SCG.
Like, how could she not?
Could you just stop and give the rest of us like a chance, even?
I kind of try to motivate
So next-
people, not drag them down.
I'm just gonna cut you off. You don't get to talk anymore. Just let us just look at you, because the worst part is she's incredibly talented. She's also one of the nicest people that we know. So you literally can't hate her. Like, there's no.
She brings us chocolate. What's there to hate?
It's right? Like, I can't even.
chocolate.
The Slytherin in me wants to hate you so much, but you're just so likable, and it's hard. It's so difficult. Anyway, also speaking of incredibly likable people who are far too good for this world, Ashlen Rose. Generally delightful, bundle of joy.
Oh, yes.
Ashlyn does a ton of stuff. She's a wonderful community member, and we're incredibly just lucky to have her. Follow her on everything. Watch the Broken Pact. You guys are still doing stuff, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
D&D. Watch the Broken Pact. Twitch.tv/D&D.
With Ruben and Garav and Jordan, they're all wonderful
Maybe
people.
Pro Show. Yeah.
Fantastic.
A lot of fun. If you want to see a Luxodon in D&D.
You're so cute as an elephant. It's adorable. You don't have any right to be that adorable. There's also Vanessa, who is maybe Emrakul, but
Yes. Yes.
maybe. I love your Emrakul costume, but oof. I mean,
She's incredibly talented.
look at these.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Beautiful.
Also,
I'm really
the
shy
sweetest
too, so
person
like
ever.
if anyone else feels shy and doesn't want to come up to us, like I completely understand. But we're all nice, like we really are.
Yeah,
I'm
don't be
not,
shy.
but I mean, I
Don't be shy.
pretend to be. I
We
try.
usually don't bite.
I put on
I can't really speak for this raptor over there, but the rest of us usually don't bite.
We also have that one of my best friends. I hate her so much.
I hate you too.
Also, again, she also can like pick me up and throw me too. So
Yeah.
like, there's that.
She literally
She's
dead
like,
with
I'm gonna
me
do that
last
later,
night.
or like immediately once we're done.
I picked
She
up
can
at
make
least 2
any
people on
artifacts
this.
in magic work. Like anything that looks close to jewelry that's an artifact of magic, she can make it
Yeah,
somehow
make it,
like
like,
magically.
I'm really Brea, actually.
And we have Kat, who also needs to stop because sometimes the rest of us need to make a costume and feel amazing about it. But
This
Nebraska
taste
just
this
is like.
taste would be garbage without trash, or without cat. Excuse me, garbage without trash. She made the sleeves and the skirt that I'm not wearing right now, and this amazing tiny cloak. And she's.
And then there's me. I'm a loud dinosaur from the internet. That's basically the whole thing.
Who makes incredible wigs.
Our friend
What?
Sydney is amazing.
Incredible wigs.
Oh yeah,
She's the ringleader.
that's like the only thing I did on this whole costume. Was I mean, this part. I'm Doctor Strange. It's fine.
It's great.
Anyway, thank you guys all so much for showing up here. We really appreciate this. Again, if you see us out and about, please ask any more questions that you want to. We would love to give you some information. At the very least, if we don't have the time for you at any one given interaction, hit us up on Twitter and we'll let you know. We'll let you know however we do what we do.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
So thank you so much. Thanks, SCG, for bringing this out.
Yes.
I hope you guys have a great time, whether you're playing games or whether you're watching more panels. There is a cosplay contest that starts at 4 p.m. And Ashlen's emceeing, so you don't even have to listen to me. You have to listen to Ashlen. You're gonna nail it. She's gonna kill it. Not people. But
Not
it,
literally.
The context.
Maybe.
Also, everyone's smiling, Mason.
Mysteries.
All right, thank you guys.